girls, today we'll be looking at training methods. So we've covered training principles of fit formula. Now we're moving on to training methods. Further reading, chapter 14. Really important that you have head around training methods because you'll need to apply this to the program. So again, in this lecture, you will need your training program next to you, and we'll be referring to it throughout. So let's have a look at the different types of training methods. So training methods are the various types of training that can be included within a training program. We just don't go out there and train. We train with specific purpose, and to do this we incorporate methods into our training that are tailored towards the fitness components needed, energy system requirements of a sport or a specific position. So there are 5 types of training methods: continuous, interval, resistance, circuit, and flexibility, and we'll go through each one. Just move myself out of the way. A good idea to take a screenshot of this, girls. I'm not going to go through it, but it lists all the fitness components down the middle, and it has training methods on the side, and it pretty much tells you what training methods can improve each of the fitness components. So for example, resistance training can improve and strengthen muscular strength, power, and endurance. Okay, first one, flexibility. It's pretty straightforward. Now, would you look at analysing this one in your task? Probably not. There's not a whole lot you can talk about. So we know flexibility is important. It governs all training. It should be included in all training sessions. We know a lot of people don't do it. But flexibility increases the range of motion. It may also reduce the risk of injury and increase your mobility. There are 4 different types: dynamic, PNF, static, ballistic. They say that you should incorporate dynamic stretching to warm up, and that static, standing still, stretching to cool down. Interval training, pretty simple. Work intervals are followed by rest intervals. Interval training, really important, improves things like speed, power, agility, aerobic and anaerobic capacity. So based on your fitness testing results and your energy system requirements for your position, if you need to work on things like or maintain speed, power, agility, anaerobic capacity, then you should definitely see interval training evident throughout the course of your program, especially if you need to improve on it. So if speed is a weakness, your 40-meter sprint you didn't do very well, speed should be all over your training program. Okay, same with agility, anaerobic capacity. And to do that, we improve on it through interval training. So it's the most effective way of improving the ability to play team sports such as touch. Touch, as we know, involves periods of work. So you might pass the ball and then it travels down to the wing. So you've got a little bit of rest there and time to recover. All 3 energy systems can also be developed by altering the length of work, and it's predominantly the anaerobic that we're working with interval training. Here's an example of short interval training. This is called speed pyramid. So you'll sprint 20 meters, walk back recovery, go again, then 40, then 60, then 80. Each time you walk back recovery, 3 sets and a 1-minute recovery between sets. You need to be aiming for 85 to 100% of your max heart rate, and to measure that, we use heart rate monitors. Key variables include your work intervals, your recovery. So to make it harder, you might reduce the 1-minute recovery, but keep in mind, girls, you need to have a sufficient amount of time to replenish and restore your ATP when you're working the anaerobic system. And as you get better and better, you can increase the sets and reps. So for example, 20-meter sprint followed by doing that 3 times or 4 times as you get to the end of your training program. So girls, what I'd like you to do now is I want you to have a look at the training program. Is interval training implemented correctly in the training program to improve speed, power, agility, anaerobic capacity? Okay, thinking about progressive overload. All right, so you don't want to see at the start of the training program something like this, but the number of times you need to repeat it is super high. Okay, so you don't want to see something like 3, 5, 6, 7 sets. You also need to think about the length of the touch field. So 70 meters, you don't want to be sprinting 200 meters, for example. Okay, especially if you need to maintain that intensity to work your anaerobic system. You can't do that. That's not realistic. Here's an example of long interval training to improve your aerobic capacity, your aerobic endurance. I'll let you read that and take a screenshot as an example. So if you need to, based on your fitness testing results, work on your aerobic capacity, if you're a wing player and really need that aerobic endurance, then you should be seeing long interval training into your program. Is it there? and is it required for your position and your fitness component requirements. Circuit training combines both continuous and resistance training and consists of a series of exercises. It can develop an array of things like aerobic, anaerobic capacity, strength, power, endurance, agility. It all depends on what you include in it. It's important to include activities that are specific to the sport you are training for. So, you need to include things like short sprints, agility to evade opponents in a touch circuit specific, or passing skills within your circuit. Sequence exercises so that body parts can try to recover. So for the first station, you might do leg, then abs, then arms. Okay, but the key is it touch specific? So have a look at the circuit included. It's the same circuit throughout the course of the program. Has circuit training being applied correctly? Does it include activities that are relevant to touch and your position? When thinking about your position, thinking about your positional requirements in terms of fitness and energy. Just an example of a circuit. Continuous training. Continuous training works the aerobic system and aerobic capacity. The purpose of continuous training is to improve one's aerobic capacity, raise your anaerobic threshold, and improve muscular endurance. Must be sufficiently intense to increase the ability of the heart to deliver oxygen to the working muscles. So you don't just want to be jogging around for the 3K. Okay, it's got to have some sort of purpose. It has to have some sort of intensity. And obviously progressive overload. The improvements in aerobic system through continuous training can help the athlete reach an aerobic steady state faster, accumulate less acid, and recover more rapidly. So the fitter you are, the better you can recover. So in any position, so wing, middle, link, it's important to have good aerobic capacity. Okay, you need to have that ability to recover more quickly and accumulate less lactic acid. Here's some continuous training types. So you've got your LSD, long slow distance, lactic threshold 2 training. So you increase the pace. That's very fatiguing. You wouldn't be able to, run 3K at 85% max heart rate. And fartlek's very common, continuous training with regular changes of pace. So you might run 500 meters at 70% intensity, and then for the next 200 meters you're going to run at 85% intensity. That's probably the most popular form to improve continuous training, aerobic capacity. So have a look at the training program. Is continuous training applied appropriately to your program if you're wanting to improve your aerobic capacity? Keep in mind, it's not just only about improvement. I've said that aerobic capacity is needed in general for all 3 energy systems to reduce lactic acid and to aid in recovery time. So it is important that all positions maintain aerobic capacity, but is it going to be an emphasis for you based on your fitness components and your requirements for your position? Here's another example of the three continuous training types. So take a screenshot of that if it applies to what you would like to talk about. Resistance training is basically weight training. It aims to improve muscular strength, power, and muscular endurance. It should, again, be specific to your sport and position. So obviously in touch, we use both upper and lower body, but probably predominantly lower body. So you should see a lot of lower body exercises. There are 2 types of resistance training. You've got your weight training, which involves a series of resistances using free or machine weights to stress the required muscle groups, or you've got your basic body acting as a gravity type activities, such as push-ups, squats, etc. Both just as popular. Again, have a look at your training program. Is resistance training applied to your program if you're wanting to increase your muscular power, strength, and endurance for your selected position? Obviously, it's really important to have a good range of muscular endurance for all 3 positions. You need to be able to work your muscles for a long period of time, but then you also need that power for short, sharp movements involving speed and power, throwing a touch football at a length. Some examples, obviously, girls, you look at to apply progressive overload into a program, you'd look at your reps, your sets, and your intensity. So you might start with lower reps if you want to look at increasing your power and your strength. So remember, strength is that one explosive movement. So you could not do 5 to 7 sets sorry, it's 5 to 7 reps of your max effort. That's mission impossible from a bench press, for example. So if you're looking at muscular endurance, you would lower the sets. You would lower the weight, so the intensity, but increase the reps and sets. If you're looking at muscular power, muscular strength, you would lower the reps and increase the intensity, so put more weight on your bar.